Hi everyone, welcome back. Well, we had a little bit of a detour last time in terms of content, and you didn't hear a word from me. But so far it would appear that the reaction is quite strong to that, to the risk I took of doing a slow motion. So I hope you've enjoyed that, and today we're going to get back to your questions. And the first question is from Geraint in Cardiff in Wales, and he says, "Dear Brian, greetings from Wales, and with the very happy memories of being on your 3-day course and subsequently having you here at our home en route to Ireland. Unfortunately, recurring knee and foot problems have prevented me from playing very much, but I do try to do the dance as often as I can." Well done, Geraint. I think your suggestion to invite golf-related questions during these difficult times is terrific, particularly as many senior golfers have now to self-isolate. My question then is, and it will require demonstration from you please, what other exercises other than the dance would you recommend for improving balance? I have tried the one-legged and eyes shut approach to the dance with little success. But now I suppose I will have much more time to improve. Absolutely. If you could help in any way, that would be great, as I believe from personal experience, loss of balance and the fear of falling is one of the great problems we face as we get older. Absolutely. So let me just put that to one side for a moment. I'm going to keep this in my hand, and of course we've got La Danse de Golf. And I would say a word of warning, because when you close your eyes it does tend to have a negative effect on your balance, so we don't want you wobbling around and reconfirming that fear and anxiety of losing your balance or falling over. So I would start with La Danse de Golf, and I would say, okay, to go around here on one foot is already quite challenging, and if we stop there we might find we're wobbling a little bit. So at every step of the way, in terms of your balance, if you do have problems, just go very, very easy, and if you can, just go to one side and stop and just hold it there. So the other foot's not moved very much, but the heel has come off a little bit, and it's a question of doing what you can. And then even if you started off saying, okay, I'm just going to take one foot, I can't do it very long, but do that and see if you can actually hold the other foot off the ground a little bit longer every day. Or if every week you feel you could make some progress. And I can assure you that I've had balance issues, particularly after my back operation. And there are times when I'm doing this and I can feel that I'm a little bit unstable. And I've been working much more on my balance in recent times, and I've got to the stage where I do balance exercises every morning, and including standing on one leg, and I've been doing this, and then I started being able to move the other leg and hold it for a while, and I'll wobble, but I'll fight it and I'll keep it, and my body seems to sort it out on its own. And then recently I've introduced this, okay, and I do about 40 of those each side, and I just know that my balance is getting better. So anything you can do which takes you from weight on both feet to weight more on one foot, then hold it, and then gradually lift the foot. And then if you can lift the foot and move it out and keep yourself moving, that's fine, because we're talking about balance in movement. And let's just see if we can start turning the hips a little bit like the Tiller girls. You can get to Geraint, you could probably get your wife to play some music at the same time. So, okay, and you just got to keep doing what you can and challenging yourself to do more, so that you could. I think I even was doing this the other day. So I was doing let's get myself sorted. I was doing this sort of thing, and at the end I thought, okay, well, let's see if I could go down. Oop, fight, challenge, hold it, go and do something like that, go and do something like this. And just keep trying as much as you possibly can. Depending on how long this video is going to be, I'll either give a link to Geraint talking about his experience with me on the 3 days, or I might even be able to fit it in at the end of this video. So thanks a lot, Geraint. Challenge and just keep working at it. Okay, second question. And this is from an old friend of ours. You remember about the tugging on the downswing? And that was Tug Wilson, who's local to me here in Kent. He's already asked one question, but I really felt that this was an important one to deal with, because it maybe other people have got the same impression. I've noticed on all your coaches' videos, they all stay down on the ball completely until they reach the top of their required backswing. However, the emphasis, as I understand it, is that keeping the head down is not a necessity. In fact, it's described as a deadly don't. However, I haven't found any relationship to the backswing portion in relation to head and eyes. Am I missing something or misunderstanding the philosophy? Well, that's why it's important to talk about this, Todd, because, let's just put that to make sure it doesn't fly away. Keeping your head down basically refers to going through, because that's where people think, and even golf teachers tend to think, that the average golfer lifts his head early, he's trying to look at where he's going before he hits the ball. Now I find that when I started using video equipment in the mid-1970s, and I started thus being able to study golfers with slow motion frame by frame images, nobody lifted their head before hitting the ball. They were so intent, their eyes were so much down there. So keeping your head down as a deadly don't refers to the through swing. And of course, for us seniors, if we do this, we're just going to twist our spines and give ourselves neck problems, back problems, and block the follow through. So letting the head go opens the ability to turn through and transfer your weight. On the backswing, head down and head still are sort of part of the same deadly don't, because they always tell you you've got to keep your head still. Keep your head still, keep your head down. So at Easier Swing, we do not believe that you have to keep your head still. We actually think that it's virtually physically impossible. So allowing your head, as we do with our danse golf, allowing your head to go with your body just makes the whole thing so much easier. So if you can think that, yes, I'm nice and relaxed, I'm in a nice posture, and I'm just going to move and let my head go. Your eyes don't have to look at the ball. I prefer to think that your eyes are open so you can see the ball, because you've got quite a wide field of vision. So I can move to here, I can see it. I'm not looking at it. Different words, looking at and seeing. So seeing is something that's happening to me, I'm not looking at it, and that's what blocks me and stops me from turning and stops me from completing my backswing movement. And the only thing I would say, and unfortunately, you put your finger on something that I tend and always have done, to swing the club back and lift up a little bit, which also causes me to then have to come down a bit. The ideal situation is keeping your centre of gravity, and thus your head and your whole body, at the same height in the backswing and the downswing. That makes it a lot easier to keep the club in plane and strike the ball at the right height of the ball. So a little bit of lateral movement's fine. If it come up a little bit, as long as it's not too serious, but you certainly wouldn't want to be doing all that sort of stuff. Too much up and down movement would not be a good thing. So I hope that clears it up. Certainly you don't have to stare the ball down, and your head, as far as I'm concerned, once you start the swing, it's moving to the right and it moves to the left, and it doesn't stop until you finish your swing. Okay? Your head is part of the overall movement, and it's part of coordination after all. Okay, third question. This is from John Parsons, who is also fairly local to here, who came to see me for a first lesson. His brother's been seeing me for a couple of years now and loves it, so eventually persuaded his brother John to come and see me. And he had one session with me before all this lockdown thing. It was probably late last year or early this year. and I'm sure he's quite happy. He talked about his short game, but we didn't have time to cover short game in that first session, and then he was going to come back, but of course it's going to be quite a long time, John, before you come back, because I've still got another 2 months of lockdown minimum. Anyway, John's question. At the end of the lesson we touched on how to use the movement in the dance to golf when chipping the ball. I wondered if this is something you could pick up on in one of your videos. Specifically, I am curious how to incorporate movement in shorter chips, say of around 20 to 30 feet, which happens to be the length of my back garden. Good idea. I have tended to use a putting stroke for such chips, and it has often felt stiff and unnatural. Okay, so we've got an interesting question here, John. Excuse me, a little sip of coffee. So my first question, if I was coaching you, I would say, well, what do you mean by using your putting action? And I would be asking specific questions, like, for example, you say it's stiff, the chipping is stiff like your putting. So should putting be stiff? Does tension help? And I would say, especially not in putting, we want to be as relaxed so we can be as delicate and have as much feel as possible. So I would go through questioning your putting, and I would imagine that you would tell me something like, well, you shouldn't be using your hands and wrists. So you've probably got this very stiff wooden one-piece thing with your head still and your legs not moving. Very awkward. So I would suggest that yes, there is a putting action where you hold the club much more vertically and you hit the ball towards the toe of the club, and you might even take your putting stance and you just knock the ball forward, but everything is relaxed and you would still have a little bit of hand and wrist action. It's very difficult to hit something when you're totally stiff and rigid. The other thing I'd like to tell you about that, and obviously we'll build on that when you come to see me, but let's give you an example of a one-day course. So usually the morning is spent getting to know people, asking lots of questions, finding out about them, then we go and hit balls, and then I get an idea of what's going, and but we tend to stick with the full swing, and then in the afternoon at a certain stage we go down to the short game area, and the last thing we do in the short game area before we come back to maybe hitting longer shots to finish off the day, we go in the bunker. And invariably by that time people start to say, so come on, what do you do in the bunker? And I said, well, tell me. And they said, well, are you saying it's the same thing? Well, largely yes. A lot of the things that we've learnt through the day, the relaxation and the movement, apply every bit as much in the bunker and in the short game. So for example, we have La Danse de Golf, and we might imagine that that's a full shot. We might imagine that a smaller version would hit the ball less far, and then we get down to something like this, and that could be a little chip shot. So all golf shots should be part of the same family, including, in my opinion, putting. I think in putting you should be allowed to move, because as soon as we try to move one part of our body without another one moving, it gets a bit complicated. That's why the conscious mind has to try and micromanage all those things. So I would say allow a little bit of movement, as loose as you possibly can, light grip, holding a finish, because there's a finish even on a short shot, and thinking, am I relaxed? And you'll find a lot of people will get through here on a chip and they'll be tight, they won't have transferred their weight. That shoulder, as we covered in a video 2 or 3 videos ago, that shoulder's got stuck back there instead of going through, and even on a little chip that needs to move forward because you don't want to hit the ground before the ball. So I look forward to seeing you. I hope that's helped. I hope there's a bit of time to fit Geraint, who's got a lovely voice. I mean, I feel so blessed because we've got Dick Stockton with his lovely American voice saying nice things about us, and Geraint, who I believe for a certain part of his career he was the voice of BBC Wales. So thank you Geraint, thank you Tug, thank you John, and the next video I'm going to give you a bit of feedback about the reviews, and I'm going to read some of the reviews because some of the things some of the comments that are coming through are very interesting, and you might actually want to go back and have a look at them, not just the reviews but also the replies to the reviews by me and by other people. So thanks again for your for coming along and sharing another nice day in paradise, isn't it? So look forward to seeing you next time, and keep a smile on your face if you can. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I believe you've just been with me for 3 days?
I have indeed 3 glorious days you put on here in Manston, yes.
Yes, I'm in touch with the powers that be, so I've produced some good weather. And what was the course about, as far as you're concerned?
Well, I've played golf a long time, over 50 years, and certain things have been ingrained in me, certain ways of swinging, certain ways of doing something. But here was the most liberating, happy 3 days. Think about nothing, and yet the swing that, well, it was a reminder almost of how it was in my youth, when I didn't have a care in the world, bags on my back, big wide empty fairways it seemed. Let it go, enjoy, and that's what these 3 days are about. And I must say, I've had great company with you, and also my colleague who flew over. I came from Cardiff, but that was no distance at all. My friend Hardy came all the way from Hamburg, and my goodness, the changes that were made to him.
Well, that's fantastic. Again, I've had great pleasure watching you and seeing how you've evolved. And I believe that you're 70 years young at the moment, or nearly?
Indeed, and still learning by stealth, and this has been a great example of that.
Lovely. It's been a pleasure. Many thanks.